Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. Great Voyage. The Strongest Emperor of the Four Emperors Blackbeard. Chapter 51. Carlo doesn't really know if Blackbeard now knows where the Munch Munch fruit is. He had no way to remind him, and could only rely on Blackbeard's own savvy. But obviously, looking at this guy's inevitable appearance, Carlo has a feeling that their next goal is to get close to the Drum Kingdom at the forefront of the Grand Line. Thinking about it carefully, it's not wrong, it's about time. In the original track, Blackbeard did have these four companions when he appeared on the Drum Island. It's not completely certain, but according to my clues, it should be in this area. There are 4 or 5 islands in this area. Thieves, haha, go over first, find them one by one, lousy must get it before our plan starts. In this case, our plan will be more certain at that time. While walking, Blackbeard pulled out a small chart from the inside of his coat, then pointed to the direction of a certain sea area above, and said to Carlo. Seeing this, Carlo took the chart and found that the sea area that Blackbeard pointed to was indeed few islands, almost all the sea, and it was ridiculously empty. But the Drum Island is impressively listed among the few islands, and it is the largest one. Okay, since you've decided, let's go to this sea area next. Carlo had a bottom line in his heart, but on the surface he was calm and disguised quite well. Originally, according to the normal trajectory, although Blackbeard could determine the approximate range of Munch Munch fruit, he did not go directly. Instead, I explored and took risks all the way, and went against the Grand Line to the forefront, and finally found the breadth of Munch Munch fruit on the Drum Island. After all, he was afraid that the purpose was too obvious, and he would be caught by other pirates or the owners of Munch Munch fruit. The second is that for these pirates, adventure and exploration of unknown areas are very important, and it is necessary to sail on the sea. It's just that this time, he was really stimulated by Carlo, and he blew his own defense with the cows that others had been blowing for most of the night. The deputy captain is so powerful that he can't wait to improve himself, otherwise his sense of existence is really low, and he won't be able to hang on to his face. After all, he was a captain. He and Carlo were the only ones on the boat before, so he didn't care. Now there are so many new people on board, and the fruit ability of these newcomers is stronger than the next. Blackbeard said that he still wants to be embarrassed. When will he not hurry up and strengthen it? This, Carlo really didn't know. It was his own reason that made Blackbeard speed up the process and give up the plan to travel all the way. But, what can I do if I know? Carlo was eager to hurry up. As a traveler, how could he not be greedy for devil fruit? And it's still so powerful. After traveling like this, when will he get shock fruit? God knows. Brothers, head to the front of the Grand Line, let's go. On the big ship, everyone is ready, and the materials are also full of various storage compartments. It can be said that everything is ready. Then, with Blackbeard's announcement, Burgess steered the boat, raised his head, and galloped toward the distant sea, leaving this bloody island. After a night of mutual understanding at the banquet, everyone on the boat had a deep understanding of each other. It can be said that after this wave of recruitment from Saraka Island, the Blackbeard pirates have been completely formed, and candidates for various important positions have also been selected. For example, Burgess, who is now driving a big ship, is a helmsman himself, and his skills in controlling the ship are quite powerful. According to Carlo's comments, this technique is much stronger than his spicy chicken fighting ability. Whether it's a compliment or a mockery, Burgess at this time is to listen to it as a compliment. With the appearance of a fanboy, I am afraid that Carlo is farting now. He thinks it is an affirmation of him. In addition to him, several other positions also have candidates. Navigator, Lafitte, Ship Doctor, Poison Q, Sniper, Van Oka. The most important positions that are almost necessary for sailing on the sea are all filled at this time. Of course, there is also the deputy captain, Carlo, who plays the 2 roles of the strongest combatant in the military division. As for the Empress and her subordinates, Blackbeard was quite sensible and didn't assign them any tasks, and now even the second-hand Burgess knew what they came for when they boarded the ship. Give the division of positions and tasks. No bullshit. In this way, since the group left, Saraka Island has completely fallen into silence, without the slightest popularity, only the corpses all over the ground and the pirate ship with most of the damaged port left. And just 5 or 6 hours after Blackbeard and Carlo's group left here, the time approached noon, and several more ships with pirate flags approached one after another and came here. As the real impossible zone in the first half of the Grand Line, Pirate Paradise, Saraka Island welcomes quite a few pirates every day. It is not surprising. But today, after these waves of pirates arrived, they all felt that something was wrong. Especially when I saw the scene where the ship was littered with debris and the silent island at the port, I felt even more strange. Until they dared to land and came to the town center of the island, the scene of blood and corpses in front of them directly made these innocent pirates stunned. I am very courageous, and suddenly seeing the tens of thousands of dead corpses everywhere, no one can stand it. During this day, the dozen or so pirate groups that came were surprisingly consistent. All of them had just landed on the island for less than half an hour before being scared back to the port. In less than 2 days, the island extermination incident on Saraka Island was spread to the outside world. Have you heard about the events in Saraka? Oh my god, it's scary. Is the Sea King's Landing? Or the devil? We don't know, killing all the pirates there. It is said that some people saw with their own eyes that the corpses of those pirates were all shriveled, as if they had been sucked out of their blood and energy by something, and their death was particularly exaggerated. Don't talk nonsense. What demons, what unclean things. I'm sure it's the conspiracy of the Marines. They have always been unhappy with that place, and it has become a gathering place for me. Yes, it must be those bastards who sneakily led the army to that place, wiped out all the pirates, and planted the blame elsewhere. After countless pirate groups got this news, all kinds of rumors and grass news were flying all over the sea. For a while, people were panicking, and all kinds of conspiracy theories and ghost theories appeared. It was simply outrageous. And the Blackbeard pirates, who were sailing somewhere in the sea, were all happy in Bungbu after hearing such remarks. Even Carlo was like this. He never thought that in just 2 days, it would be spread like this. The real culprit in this line even couldn't help but give a thumbs up in the air and like it. Anyway, if you can't find them, just watch the play. In the end, Marine couldn't take it anymore. He didn't want to care about it at all. What did the life and death of those pirates have to do with them? I wish all these annoying flies were dead. However, the rumors are too fierce. It is obvious that someone is deliberately targeting the Marines. The more and more the rumors spread, the more outrageous they were. They didn't do anything, and they caused a show in vain. The pressure of public opinion made naval headquarters a little unbearable, and even these rumors spread among the civilians. Originally, Marines didn't need to care about this at all. Isn't that just right for Marines to kill pirates? But helplessly, the conspiracy theory is too outrageous. Marine is very concerned about his own image. How can he continue to ignore it? So, Marine Marshal Sengoku immediately ordered the Marine branch closest to Saraka to send troops to investigate the truth. At the same time, the president of the World Economic News, Birdman, Morgans, also smelled the hype, and also secretly sent people to find out the truth and the inside story. Even the Whitebeard pirates, the 4 emperors group far away in the New World waters, learned of this news. Chapter 52. 5 days after Blackbeard's group left Saraka Island, when this amazing incident was about to be spread in a more outrageous direction, Marine finally issued a solemn announcement. According to the investigation, the Saraka Island incident originated from the infighting of the pirates. Single quote. An unexplained large-scale battle occurred on the island, and each pirate's cause of death and trauma is different. Single quote. There are a lot of people who shot. It is obviously caused by the battle between pirates from different forces. Single quote. The ghost shot, the death-related shrewdness, etc. all do not exist. Everyone died in the hands of his human. Marine secretly shot and other remarks. It is even more nonsense. Single quote. Descendants of the gods. Celestial dragons. The disappearance of celestial dragons is still unknown. If at this time, there are deliberately pouring dirty water on Marine and world government, then we have every reason to suspect that the rumormongers and celestial dragons events have a direct or indirect relationship. Single quote. Exactly as both Carlo and Blackbeard predicted. In the case of the open recruitment conference, many pirates were allowed to kill each other. Even after investigation, this result could only be used to make a conclusion. There is no way to check, CP0 is so useless. Among the official announcements from Marine, the most notable is the last one. Celestial dragons, haven't found it yet. Besides, Marine is very irritable now, and the pressure exerted by the world government is too great. Whoever wants to spread rumors and throw dirty water on them at this time will be sorry. I've dealt with you as the culprit or accomplice in the disappearance of celestial dragons, everyone here, who has a temper. Who dares to have? This is what Marine conveyed, and it can be seen from this statement that they are serious. Sure enough, Marine's move was very effective. Suddenly, the voice of the sea towards their conspiracy theories was less than half, and there was a lot less sarcasm on his body. There is no way, this is the biggest and most serious crime. Once you are put on this hat, you will be done properly. It is not only the pressure from Marine and the world government, but also the peers and bounty hunters. Although this kind of voice still exists, and it is said that Marine is directing and acting, it is obviously much better than when the situation just fermented before. At the same time, in the other side of the sea, the New World, there are also people who are paying attention to the two major events in the first half. Deep in the New World, in a certain sea area, the huge Moby Dick was anchored in the open sea. Obviously, this was the territorial waters of the Whitebeard pirates. Gee la la la, it's really noisy, these little bastards. On the Moby Dick, on the foredeck, Whitebeard sat in the first huge seat. He, who had just dropped the phone bug, was laughing and pouring wine into his mouth, and at the same time, there were many drips all over his body. This look is so weird. Obviously, at this time, he had already learned what happened in the first half of the Grand Line. The Celestial Dragon's disappearance incident, and the Saraka Island incident, had already been communicated back by the intelligence officers who belonged to Whitebeard's group in the first half. Although they are entrenched in the New World, but reaching their scale and level, how can they not be deployed elsewhere? The most basic intelligence network must be there. It's just that Whitebeard doesn't care much about these two things. Marine and the world government made a fuss. As their old rival, Whitebeard was too happy to be happy, so he was about to throw a banquet to celebrate. Dad. At this moment, there was a sudden shout in the sky, and the next moment, I saw Marco paddling a pair of blue flame wings, landing from a high altitude, and came to Whitebeard. There is news from Ace. About 20 days ago, that kid Ace also arrived at the first half of the Grand Line, and then went to the islands of Sabayati, just in time to encounter the disappearance of celestial dragons. I've been trapped there for more than half a month, but fortunately, the guy was well hidden and was not discovered by Marine. Our people also found out about Ace's whereabouts only 2 days ago, but as soon as we found him in Sabayati land, the seal was unsealed by Marine, and this kid ran away again. Marco looked helpless, sighing and explaining to Whitebeard. This time I finally found Ace, but I passed by again, and I didn't even have a chance to persuade him. The next time I want to find the whereabouts of this wave B, I don't know when it will be. This stubborn guy, alas. I don't know why, this time I always have a bad feeling. Marco, do you know where Ace is going next? Hearing the news of Ace, his most beloved son, Whitebeard couldn't laugh anymore. After putting down the wine bowl in his hand, he asked Marco with a solemn expression. I had no idea, but the Saraka Island incident happened suddenly. According to our people, Ace seemed to be heading in that direction. The situation is not very good. Listening to Marco's words, Whitebeard's brows furrowed a little deeper, and the bad premonition in his heart became heavier at this moment. Since the kid Teach ran away and Ace chased after him regardless, I've always felt bad. Especially during this period of time, what happened was too coincidental. Ace chased Teach and entered the first half of the Grand Line. After that, events such as Celestial Dragons and Saraka happened one after another. There shouldn't be any connection between this. Dad, you mean? Whitebeard's self-talk caused Marco, who was standing beside him, to shrink his pupils instantly and couldn't believe it. These things. Maybe that bastard Teach did. How could he have such strength? For so many years, no one knows him better than us. Chapter 53. Who knows? I hope this doesn't happen, otherwise, Ace will be really troublesome. This stupid son, I still hope he doesn't catch up with that bastard Teach. Thinking of this, Whitebeard was so big that he was so annoyed, but he couldn't tell where the bad premonition came from. So, I picked up the wine bowl again, and poured it, gudong gudong. Hey, Captain, you can't drink any more. Your drink intake has exceeded the limit today. If you drink it, your condition will be worse. Seeing this, the little nurses standing beside Whitebeard hurriedly persuaded him, but he was too small to stop him. Say something stupid. Drink what you like. How can you get sick? Ignoring it at all, with the huge amount of drinks, Whitebeard forcibly suppressed the uncomfortable feeling in his heart. Right now, they can do nothing, and they can only hope that Ace doesn't have an accident, and that whoever committed these two big things has nothing to do with Blackbeard. That's fine. There is no way, if these two major events are really related to Blackbeard, then this person is too scary. Even if he is as strong as Ace, he will definitely suffer a huge loss in the opponent's hands. But, the more people are afraid of something, the more they will come. I have to say, Whitebeard's hunch is quite accurate. In this way, in the next period of time, the influence of the Saraka incident will become greater as more and more people know it. It's just that under Marine's shocking operation, no one dared to throw the blame on them. After all, they have tied this matter directly to the Celestial Dragons incident. Who would dare to continue making a big fuss? Even Morgans, the president of the World Economic News, who is not afraid of the four emperors and not afraid of Marine in order to stir up hot news, did not force a hat on Marine in the news release this time. One was that he really didn't find anything to do with Marine, and the other was Celestial Dragons. Even he didn't dare to mess with it easily. It's just that in the next period of time, more and more people have embarked on the route to Saraka, and they all want to take a look and find out for themselves. Of course, these things have nothing to do with Blackbeard, Carlo and the others. After another half-month voyage, they have completely avoided everyone's attention, and are almost approaching the sea area where Blackbeard's target is. Quote. No, your cultivation talent is too weak. It's been almost half a month. With such a powerful devil fruit, you have improved so much. Are you worthy of me and teach? At this time, on the Blackbeard pirates sailing on the vast sea, Carlo's reprimanding voice was constantly being heard. And standing in front of him are the four newly recruited Lafitte from Saraka Island. Right now, these four people are all bowing their heads, standing in front of Carlo like elementary school students who have made mistakes, listening to his scolding, daring not to refute the slightest. Since they left Saraka that day, they have been heading towards the destination Blackbeard said. However, this voyage is not short at all, and it takes more than half a month of high-speed sailing to arrive. In order not to waste time, as soon as he got on the boat, Carlo asked these people to enter the training of cultivation and fruit development in full swing. I just didn't expect that almost half a month has passed, and these people have only improved a little, which made Carlo quite angry. There is a feeling of gold being bitten by a local dog. Well, of course, the so-called progress is only in Carlo's view. But in fact, the progress of these people is actually not small, and it is definitely faster than ordinary people. It's just that it's not enough for Carlo. After all, as a crew member of him and Blackbeard, he has eaten such a heaven-defying ability. To be reasonable, it is not 10 times or dozens of times faster than ordinary pirates. I am sorry for his plan. Big brother, you think we are you. Eating awesome fruit does not mean eating a training accelerator. Of course, they only dare to murmur this in their hearts, really say it. It was inappropriate to find and clean up. Burgess, you idiot, what are you doing with that jet of yours every day? Behemoth is born with top-notch strength and defense. Do you still expect your broken device to surpass the power given to you by this fruit? Starting today, you give lousy irons. Except for this, you don't have to do anything, just train your strength. Glancing at Burgess angrily, Carlo pointed out to him the problem with his training. Then, his eyes turned to Van Oka again. Does it make sense for you to just study bullet acceleration there? As a sniper, as long as your bullets can hit people, it's fine. Beyond that, what's the point of your speed overflow? And your speed fruit can only accelerate bullets. Can't it accelerate itself? As a sniper, movement is the soul. Use the fruit of speed to constantly move at high speed, change positions, find the best sniping point, and keep an absolutely safe distance from the enemy. Only in this way can you become the most commanding officer on the battlefield. The enemy's tricky point. Also, you have to learn to let go of your thinking, get fruit quickly, and you can also use it to speed up reloading, or even speed up your teammates. From now on, you should go to practice running positions first, and then practice the acceleration of yourself first. After reprimanding the two of them, Carlo looked at Lafitte slightly better, and his tone was no longer so bad. Lafitte, if you're concerned, you should mainly train your reconnaissance ability. Try to be in the form of a white dove so that no one can see your disguise. Even I feel that you can try to match the appearance of your white dove to the image of the seagull as much as possible. In this way, your ability to hide your figure in the sea will become stronger. At that time, the help to our pirate group will be even greater. No way. Who makes the Lafayette fruit not good, but the brain is good? If there is reprimand, there must always be preferential treatment. Carlo grasped the scale of people's hearts, and he grasped it quite well. But, after talking about Lafitte's training direction, Carlo's face, once again, pulled down. A pair of gloomy eyes aimed at the poisonous Q who was standing at the back, and almost made this sick old man scared to die on the spot. I thought you were playing with Shenong and tasting 100 herbs, which was a great idea for making drugs. Emotion, that's all. Chapter 54. You just said that the poison in this fruit can be fatal as long as it is eaten by someone, right? The kind that can't be rescued at all. Carlo kept weighing the apple in his hand, squinting and looking at Poison Q. Furious. Originally, he thought that Poison Q, who had studied poisons and viruses for so long, could give him some kind of poison and virus. It turns out, it's still the same old way, playing with his broken apple. This thing is not contagious, but after people eat it, it will poison and die in a short time. According to Poison Q, it is difficult to cure even the strong. So, under the horrified eyes of everyone, Carlo ate one directly, and then used the repair glove around his waist to repair himself easily, erasing the toxicity. It didn't have any impact at all. Using reality, I slapped Poison Q directly. Tell me, on the real battlefield, who would eat your shit? Do you think everyone else is a brain dead? If you want to create a virus with mass destruction, it must at least be transmissible, and it must be hard to prevent. This is the most basic, right? The best one is the one that can lower a person's own immunity and force a chaotic mind. The most important thing is the spreadability. There must be a large-scale spreadability. If you get a little contamination, you can win the bid. To get rid of the biggest drawback of having to take it orally, there are too many ways for the virus to spread. You are still a poison master, and your brain is too rigid. I will give you the idea. How to do it is your business. To say it is reprimanding, it is better to say that Carlo is taking the initiative to point out the direction of his fruit development. Not only the poisonous Q, but also what he said to Burgess and the others, roughly the same meaning. These people, not only are not fools, but each one is better than each other, how can they not hear what Carlo means? The more I heard the back, the more shocked the expressions of these people became. Deputy Captain, can you also think of this method? I doubt it. Cough, cough. Who ate the virus fruit? Yeah, move position, find the best sniping point, accelerate yourself, and even accelerate reloading. How come I didn't expect? It seems that the thinking is too limited. In the past, I just trained the shooting speed and accuracy, but I have never tried so many methods together. Ha 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 ha, I understand. Vice Captain, you really shouldn't be bothering about this broken device, I'll just throw it away. Thanks to the Vice Captain for the suggestion. The comprehension of these people is quite high. After a brief comparison, they were pleasantly surprised to find that Carlo was here to teach them a lesson. Obviously he was giving an answer. Next, a few people don't have to think about anything, just copy it. If this can go wrong, it will be a waste of these heaven-defying fruits. The same is true of Lafitte, who has little to do with this matter. He really never dared to think that his breaking ability could actually move closer to the direction of espionage. Also, doves camouflage seagulls. Really, doesn't it have to be a try? Stop, don't be rude to me, that's what Lousy wants to see, the results. Go and practice. Carlo waved his hand and directly stopped the flattery of several people. Teaching others to practice is even more tiring than practicing on your own. Although, he has not practiced. Ha ha ha, buddy, your brain is really good, you can really think about it, and you can come up with so many ways to practice. It's no wonder that you are so strong. Blackbeard, who had been making soy sauce beside him when he saw Lafitte and a few people leaving, also came up at this time and expressed his affirmation of the cultivation method he arranged. Stop talking nonsense. Teach, how long will it take? Listening to Blackbeard's jokes, Carlo rolled his eyes, too lazy to talk to this guy. There are still more than 700 nautical miles. The guy Lafitte said that if the wind direction remains unchanged, we will be able to reach the first island before tomorrow night. Thief, ha ha ha, munch munch fruit, lousy is here. A day and a half passed in the blink of an eye. In the evening of the second day, when the sky gradually filled with darkness, the Blackbeard pirates finally arrived at their destination. Of course, this is not Drum Island, just the first island in this sea. Arriving here, Blackbeard immediately decided to spend the night here and wait until the next day to set sail. Anyway, he has reached the target range, and he has nothing to worry about. He docked here, and he could look for clues, supply supplies to the ship, and relax by the way. After all, they have been on the boat for more than half a month, and everyone is a little bored. So, just as the boat docked, everyone put down what they were doing, and all got off the boat to explore this unknown island. Even the 7 female warriors of the 9 snake pirates, after the approval of the Empress, rushed towards the depths of the island. As for Carlo, he did not act with the crowd. What a joke! How could this broken island have clues to munch munch fruit? Look for it. Find a dir. With that energy, it is better to relax. After getting off the boat, he strolled along the coastline around the island by himself, enjoying the sea view and night here. To be precise, not alone. Because not far behind him, there has always been a little tail that has always maintained a certain distance from him. I don't dare to get too close, but I won't be too far away, for fear of losing it. That's right, it was none other than the Empress who followed Carlo's ass after getting off the boat. This little girl is really interesting. I have been following along. Are you really not going to show up? Ahead, Carlo had a weird expression and smiled speechlessly. The Empress was following behind him, and he naturally knew it. It should be said that he specially created this opportunity for the Empress. Based on the reaction of the Empress during this time, Carlo knew that once he disembarked alone, the Empress would follow him. Otherwise, why wait for everyone to leave, and the Empress is still on the boat? This kind of thing, even if she is a generation of arrogant queen, she can really do it. Therefore, Carlo deliberately stayed until the end, disembarked by himself, and walked around the island. Do you really think this product will simply wander around? This is obviously fishing law enforcement. As for doing this for Mao, the reason is also very simple. It's funny to find clues and supplies that don't exist with a bunch of big men. Boring to explode. After crossing into this world, the biggest goal and dream, apart from becoming stronger, is not to molest the girl. With such a beautiful woman as the Empress in front of you, playing with Blackbeard's gangsters on a deserted island to survive. Carlo said that he really can't do this damn thing, it's too bad. As a real carnivore, no matter if you want to eat meat or not, you have to smell it first. However, what made Carlo quite speechless and unexpected was that it had been a long time since he got off the boat, and the Empress had been following quietly, not showing up at all. Maybe it's because I don't dare to show up. In that case, let me come to you. Men, you have to take the initiative. After muttering to himself, Carlo dodged towards the jungle next to him and disappeared in place, instantly disappearing from the sight of the Empress behind. Chapter 55. Mr. Carlo, why is he gone? Looking at Carlo, who suddenly disappeared, the beach in front of him was empty, and the Empress behind him was stunned. Could it be, did you find your concubine? But also, how could the concubine do such a thing? It's really shameful. At this time, the Empress was flustered, and blamed herself a little angrily. Even she never thought how could she do such a wretched thing. Follow the madman. It's not like what a generation of female emperors did, isn't it nonsense? Since before the fight, when Carlo killed celestial dragons when he first met on Saraka Island, the Empress did not know why she became like this. Every time I see Carlo, I can't help but blush and heartbeat, and I don't even have the courage to look at each other. I had never felt this way before, and even when I saw Carlo get off the boat and walk alone, I didn't know what the wind was, and he followed me by a ghost. It's over. If you let Mr. Carlo know, you won't blame the concubine. As if the brain was short-circuited, after Carlo disappeared, the queen suddenly panicked, and even forgot that she had observation hockey, who could find traces of others. Just standing in the same place, thinking about whether there are some of these, a pure love brain. No, it's just that you follow me, what's the matter? At this moment, Carlo's figure suddenly appeared, and he walked slowly to the side of the Empress. The sudden voice awakened the Empress, who was still immersed in her inner world instantly. Turning around quickly, the Empress discovered that Carlo, who she had been following, was already in front of her, which made her momentarily stunned. This, concubine, Mr. Carlo. Seeing Carlo, the Empress immediately became at a loss, her face turned red, and she couldn't even speak. Don't worry, speak slowly. Now that we're all out, let's walk together. Looking at the flustered Empress, Carlo smiled understandingly and walked forward first. Seeing this, the Empress hesitated for a while, and finally gritted her teeth and forced herself to do some psychological construction, and then followed. Cool, the feeling of pretending to be a gentleman is so cool. Walking in front, Carlo secretly rejoiced, and felt quite satisfied with this wave of his own. Of course, he still had the same hexy smile on his face, which looked quite warm and kind, and could not match the word villain at all. Obviously, this guy's acting skills are absolutely online. Ding dong. It is detected that host is alone with the pirate queen, Boa Hancock, and the system will release a random task. Single quote. How to get along with the Empress, the task selection begins. Single quote. Under what circumstances can this trigger system tasks? Are you serious? Hearing the long-lost system prompt and the outrageous task trigger conditions suddenly appeared in his mind, even Carlo himself was a little confused. What the hell is this name and why? Can this be done as well? But don't spoil Lousy's good things. However, the system didn't take care of Carlo's doubts at all, and started promulgating mission options on its own. Option 1. I'm a bad guy and I'm not interested in your heart. Single quote. No matter what, don't give the Empress any chance to express her heart, take it directly back to the room and complete the home run. Single quote. Reward. World of Hokage Senju Tsunade's signature ability, Fist. Single quote. Option 2. Listen to the Empress's confidence, sit still, be a real gentleman, and soothe the Empress's wounded heart, and talk to her about a platonic romantic love. Single quote. Reward. Special observation hockey, malicious perception. Single quote. Option 3. Listen to and heal the queen's inner wounds and hit the home run. Let her be completely convinced. Single quote. Bonus. Advanced observation hockey, hard net level coverage. Single quote. Wow, that's how we get along. After hearing the content released by the system, Carlo immediately became restless. The relationship is such a way of getting along. At this time, Carlo seriously doubted the badness of the system. If this was in his previous life, what would this nifty website be? It's just like a hair. However, after all, scolding and scolding, this time the system issued such a superior task, which still made Carlo quite useful. Well, there is no bad thing about Lousy, and it has contributed to the flames. In any case, it is also a good system for the host. To be commended. These 3 options. It seems that there is no need to consider, just choose the third one. After all, this is the 3rd time to accept the task of this unscrupulous system, although it is more outrageous and weird each time. But fortunately, Carlo's ability to adapt is still quite strong, but after a short period of distraction, he made a decision. There is nothing to tangle and consider, of course, choose the 3rd task option. The first and the second, no matter how you think about it, it doesn't quite fit. It's not too much to take away the home run directly. Wouldn't it be a pure desire to vent? It has wool meaning. Moreover, without giving people a chance to talk, Carlo said, "Are you still a human, in the system. Although he, Carlo, is indeed a bad guy and a villain, he is not a beast, is he? I feel pity for doing such an extreme to a beautiful girl. As for the second quest option, it's even more nonsense. There is nothing wrong with comforting and soothing the heart of the Empress, but about a platonic love. Don't be a fool. Although Carlo isn't quite a beast, he's even less likely to be a saint. Facing the Empress, the number one beauty in the pirate world, let him sit like a carnivore. Don't let him eat meat. Why? This is not a good thing for Carlo. It is clear that it is to fight against him. Don't even think about it. In the final analysis, the third task condition was the most suitable. Carlo didn't think about it at all and chose this one directly. It's the most interesting thing. Of course, it's still a little emotional. The pure desire to vent, and the more pure love in the heart, are weaker than this. Moreover, let the queen be fully convinced of herself, so that there is a pursuit and a challenge. Otherwise, what's the difference between just eating a fast food on the road? Of course, in addition to the conditional factors, the reward is obviously the third task item as the most fragrant. Although Tsunade's strange force fist is powerful, it is obviously unnecessary for Carlo at this time. Now, he already has the perverted physique of Bullet, his strength is outrageous, and he has advanced armament and emission hockey. This level of power, placed in the first half of the Grand Line, is obviously beyond the standard. Even New World is close to the top, so Carlo doesn't need this kind of moves and power. And observation hockey is Carlo's biggest shortcoming right now. He has been thinking about when he will have the opportunity to pick up the observation hockey from the system. No, is it coming? When you doze off, someone will give you a pillow. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Chapter 56. Of course, the second and third options, although they are all rewards for seeing and hearing, but this time the second quest needs to be completed with two disgusting conditions, and seeing and hearing is obviously not as good as the third. Malicious perception, for Carlo, who has God's vision, is completely useless and useless. Obviously, you can master the psychology, thoughts and plans of most people in this world. Are you asking for a malicious perception? It's purely superfluous, it's just superfluous. This thing is only useful to the indigenous people of this world. The third mission, however, is different. The coverage of the hardnet level knowledge and color can instantly kill the so-called malicious perception. What is this concept? Thor's Enel's sense of sight is the level of the hard network. Sitting in the old nest, seeing and hearing can directly cover the large area of several islands. And, at such a long distance, you can still hear and perceive what others are saying and talking about. It is simply a terrifying ability of the bug level. It can be said that with this ability, it is equivalent to being a monitoring phone bug, spread all over the place. There is nothing that can escape the induction of the owner of the hardnet. The practicality is quite strong, a cool batch. Although I always wanted to use the system to get observation hockey, Carlo didn't expect that the system was so powerful this time, and it gave him a step-by-step. Unlike the last time the system released the task, there was no need to tangle this time, and Carlo immediately selected the third task in seconds. Mr. Carlo, what are you thinking? Still blaming the concubine. The two walked side by side and had walked a long distance, but remained silent the whole time. The Empress quietly raised her head and looked at Carlo's handsome and resolute face, but she could not see the slightest emotion. Finally, she couldn't bear it any longer, and with an apology on her face, she asked aloud. Quote. Suddenly, a pleasant voice interrupted Carlo's thoughts, which pulled him back from his contemplation. Obviously, the Empress thought too much, and Carlo almost forgot about the fact that they were taking a walk and blowing wind, and was always immersed in the tasks and reward options released by the system. No, you're too sensitive, Hancock. I didn't blame you. You don't need to be so careful. Could it be that I can eat people? Carlo turned his face slightly. Yu Guang glanced at the Empress beside him, and joked softly. Ah, what? Mr. Carlo, what do you call your concubine? As if she touched her. Switch. Carlo's words made her react greatly. The Empress was shocked, and immediately covered her small mouth, her beautiful eyes widened, and she looked at each other in disbelief. Hancock, what's wrong? Isn't that your name? Can't I call that name? Carlo is leisurely. Everything is under control, and the tone and rhythm are just right. No, Mr. Carlo, of course you can call your concubine that. And, please be sure to call it this way in the future. My concubine likes your way of addressing it. The more she said to the end, the lower the voice of the empress, as thin as a gossamer, and a pair of slender hands caressed her hot cheeks. At this time, she didn't dare to look at Carlo anymore. The empress never imagined that the other party would call her that. Obviously, the empress is shy. You know, no one has ever dared to call her name directly, and even if anyone called her that, she would immediately kick him into a statue. Even in her own country, Granny Nu, who was highly respected, saved her and taught her to become a king, always called her Snake Princess. The name Hancock seems to be a taboo, but now that Carlo calls it that, the empress can't help being excited and shy. It's wicked. And, coupled with Carlo's statement, she never blamed her, and the empress was relieved, and her tense nerves gradually relaxed. Staying on the boat for so many days, it's not convenient to ask you because of the crowd, but now it's clean. Carlo sighed with a very pretentious emotion, then went straight to the subject and said, "Why did you react so much when I killed that idiot in Saraka? What kind of enmity do you have with them?" "I just have nothing to do. Let's hear it." Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. In an instant, fall from heaven to hell. Carlo's words made the empress feel like a thunderbolt. The relaxed body suddenly collapsed and stiffened. At this time, how could the blushing just now be seen on the small face of the empress? All white. Even his lips lost their blood in an instant, and his eyes became even more frightened and constricted, as if he suddenly saw something like a nightmare. What's wrong? With such a big reaction, did I ask something that shouldn't be asked? Seeing that the empress suddenly stopped and stood there with a look of panic, Carlo asked knowingly. Concubine. Concubine body. The empress faltered, trembling all over, and slowly closed her eyes, even her slender eyelashes kept shaking. It is obvious how uneasy she is in her heart at this time. It's okay, if you don't want to say it, you don't have to. I'm just asking casually, so don't be so serious. Seeing that the empress stammered for a long time, unable to utter a complete sentence, Carlo turned around and continued to walk forward with a look of indifference. This is acting. Lousy goes back to the 21st century. I'm sorry if I don't win a Golden Horse Award. Turning around decisively, it looks very dashing, but Carlo's heart is ecstatic. He thinks that he has grasped the empress's emotions, and he has grasped it quite well. After such a show, I don't believe you can't break the defense. Come on, be conscious, tell your past. If it's not on the rails, it's impossible to talk about it. No, Mr. Carlo, wait for the concubine. Sure enough, as he expected, seeing Carlo turn around and leave, the empress couldn't hold back any longer, hurriedly trotted and chased after him, and took the initiative to grab his right arm. Don't get me wrong, Mr. Carlo, concubine doesn't mean that. At this time, the appearance of the empress, if anyone who knows her and is familiar with her, looks at her, I am afraid that their jaws will drop. High above, looking down on everything, and never looking down on anyone's daughter island queen, she was so cautious in front of this man. So active. This is already considered intimate contact. Moreover, it is too outrageous to put on such a wronged attitude, for fear that the other party will be angry. In the past, with the character of the empress, if you meet someone who dares to play tricks with her, you don't have to think about it, a big perfume femur will give you no chance to be a statue. Quote. It's just the past that the concubine didn't dare to recall, so she lost her temper. But for Mr. Carlo, the concubine doesn't want to hide it. Even if you don't ask Mr. Carlo, the concubine will say it sooner or later. Afraid that Carlo thought she was deliberately hiding it, he was angry. This time, the empress directly explained the reason. I said, Hancock, don't be so cautious in front of me, just ask casually, what do you care about? The old fritters Carlo, who is kind, not understanding remote people by, and cares Lien really put on a look like I don't care, I'm not angry, you think too much. The longest road the empress has traveled in her life is probably Carlo's routine. If you want to welcome or refuse, the one who plays is called a skilled. Chapter 57. No, Mr. Carlo, I've thought about it. Since you got on this ship, and you killed that celestial dragons in front of us, your concubine shouldn't hide this anymore. When my concubine was 12 years old, she was kidnapped and sold to celestial dragons as a slave. Obviously, the Empress couldn't resist Carlo's scratching routine. She was really guided, and began to talk about her unbearable and dark past. This is what you want to say, I didn't force you. For Carlo, he is quite clear about this dark history of the Empress, and at the moment, he is just tempting her to tell it personally. If she doesn't reveal her heart like this, how can she be convinced with all her heart? If he is not fully convinced, how can he get the reward of the task that makes his heart move? Obviously, Carlo's goal has been achieved. It wasn't until Fisher Tiger freed the celestial dragon's slaves, concubine and 2 sisters, that they escaped. After that, I drifted on the sea for a long time, met with Granny New, and brought back a few of my concubines, and the current 9 snake pirates came into being. How can the Empress at this time still have the demeanor of a queen? Sitting on the reef on the beach, the Empress curled her body halfway, pulled the white cloak behind her, and covered her tall and delicate body. This dark past, not to mention recalling it, but if I remember a little, the Empress will feel extremely shameful and fearful. There is no way. The rubbish of celestial dragons was regarded as a pet, worse than a maid, only for the guests who were also rubbish to perform. Even the fruit power possessed by the Empress and her 2 sisters at this time was forced to eat by the celestial dragons in order to watch the performance for fun. Hancock, it's time to let go of the fear in your heart. That celestial dragons has already died in front of you, what's there to be afraid of? I cut him down, which proves that they are not so-called supreme gods. Even, they are not as good as you and me. They are just a bunch of stupid pigs and self-righteous garbage. They think they are high and they step on the top of everyone's heads. That's just before. You are too used to these idiots. Now that Lao Tzu has appeared, it is impossible to let the so-called celestial dragons continue to be presumptuous and do whatever they want. With a lot of rhetoric, the Empress was taken aback. Sitting next to the Empress, Carlo's words were sonorous and powerful, as if he was going to turn celestial dragons into slaves and mounts. With his way, he will return to his body. At this time, Carlo's expression is quite clear. Don't worry, in the future, I will take you and kill those high celestial dragons myself, and remove the shame and fear in your heart. While speaking, Carlo stretched out his hand and gently placed it on the Empress' head. Feeling the warm hand above her head, the Empress only felt an electric current hitting her heart from top to bottom. No one has ever touched his head and comforted himself like him. Unprecedented warm feeling. Mr. Carlo, everything you say is unconditionally believed by the concubine. Feeling the warmth coming from the top of her head, the Empress gently stroked the tears from the corners of her eyes. Her pretty face flushed slightly, then she stood up, took courage, and took Carlo's right arm. The existence of celestial dragons still made her feel fearful. There was no way, after all, it was a psychological shadow for more than 10 years. However, the Empress at this time was no longer as unbearable as before. Just mentioning celestial dragons, she was so frightened that she couldn't extricate herself. All of this depends on Carlo's actions today, as well as the words just now, and the promise he made to her. The Queen never imagined that Mr. Carlo in front of her would do this for her. This made her heart, which was already thawing gradually, crack again, almost really melted, and fell into it. This time, unlike the blind fascination with Carlo some time ago, the Empress really let go of her whole heart. Show me the so-called hoofs of celestial dragons first. Maybe I have a way to help you get rid of it. Bowing his head slightly, looking at standing aside with a pretty blushing face, he took the initiative to lead his Empress. Carlo smiled, and then took her to the high shore of the beach. What, Mr. Carlo, you, can you help the concubine and remove the mark of shame? Hearing this, the female emperor's body instantly stiffened. Huo raised his head and looked at Carlo with an unbelievable look. The hoofs of the celestial dragons behind her, otherwise known as the slave mark, are the real source of fear within her. This kind of thing cannot be erased in a lifetime, and its existence proves the fact that they are slaves. Even the fish-man pirate group established by Fisher Tiger can only be changed into the shape of the sun on its basis and cannot be eliminated. At this time, Carlo told her that he could. How can this not be shocking? If you don't try, how will you know? Hearing this, Carlo just raised his eyebrows and led her straight to the high jungle, then turned around and gestured to him. The meaning is obvious, you should take off, otherwise how can I treat you? Seeing this, the Empress, who was still in a daze, suddenly reacted, her face turned red again, the blush spread directly to the roots of her ears, and her heart was extremely uneasy. So soon, is it going to be frank and relative? Still in such a place. However, the Empress also clearly distinguished the importance. Without being too twisted, she turned around, unbuttoned the cheongsam, and her smooth back, as white as jade, was immediately exposed in front of Carlo. Try it, I don't know if it will work. As he spoke, Carlo took off the repair glove around his waist, put it on his hand, and pressed the huge celestial dragon's hoofprint on the Empress' back, actively activating the ability to repair fruit. Carlo is still quite confident in repairing gloves, even a broken limb can be reorganized, and fatal wounds can be repaired. Is it impossible to heal a mere burn? As a result, it did not disappoint him. After about 10 minutes, the Empress clearly felt a strange feeling from her back. This made her unable to hold back. She murmured aloud, and in the quiet environment and scene at the moment, it was somewhat ambiguous. Well, Hancock, starting today, you are no longer a slave to the so-called celestial dragons. I'll clear this mark for you. It was at this moment that Carlo's reliable voice came, which made the Empress's heart suddenly tremble. Really, success. This shameful mark that has accompanied her for more than 20 years has really been erased. Concubine. I really don't know how to thank you, Mr. Carlo. Excited to the point where there were hot tears in her beautiful eyes, the Empress immediately turned around and rushed towards Carlo, her slender arms wrapped around his neck in an instant. Forehead. The sudden boldness of the Empress made Carlo stunned. I just feel that there is a very deep career line in front of me. Before I can see it clearly, a touch of when you appeared in my Y. A gust of breeze, wrapped in an elegant fragrance, hit the nostrils. Just a little stunned, Carlo reacted. What a bold move this guy Hancock made. Given the current situation of the two of them, she dared to do this. Could it be that Liang Jingru gave her the courage? Hancock, are you, holy crap, crying? Isn't it Big Brother, just like this? It's crying. Before he could finish the question, Carlo felt a slight tide in front of his shirt, which was obviously infected with tears. I didn't do anything. Do you think it's appropriate for you? Carlo said that he was quite speechless. This is inappropriate to come here to touch porcelain. Let's just say, I removed the celestial dragon's hoof prints for you. You don't appreciate it, why can't you repay your kindness? Concubine. Really, don't know how to thank Mr. Carlo. This mark is a concubine, the biggest nightmare in this life. However, just when Carlo hadn't finished his inner drama, Hancock's intermittent low sobbing reached his ears. Repeating the gratitude she had expressed to Carlo before, her tears couldn't stop pouring out, and the cloak that covered the other side's front was quickly wet. Obviously, the hoof prints of celestial dragons are the greatest fears in their hearts as the men who have experienced the darkest moment. No way, that experience, the Empress can choose to forget as much as possible. Even if she can't forget it, it can always fade away as time goes by. However, even if the memory can be faded, the real servant mark can never be eliminated. This burn scar will always remind the unbearable past she has experienced. This kind of mark, always tortured, is never the body, but the heart. She has been tormented by this kind of pain for so many years, but suddenly someone came out to help her clean up this unbearable memory. The key is this person, or what the Empress has always been fascinated by. How can this make her calm down? CFBJ. Full of grievances, at this moment, all poured out. Looking at the Empress who was buried in front of him, Rao was the supervillain Carlo, and couldn't help but sighed softly. Rarely, this guy has a little sad feeling in his heart. Even as a transmigrator, I already knew the background of the Empress, but now, listening to her cry in person, I still feel a lot of distress. Don't say it, you just need to remember what Lao Tzu said, one day I will take you to kill those garbage, and it will eliminate all the fears in your heart. So, you can forget about these memories, and there will never be any more painful experiences that will happen to you in the future. While speaking, Carlo's palm also rested on the Empress' shoulder, patted gently, wanting to get her out of the shadows as soon as possible. And his statement is like a small pill in Yunnan Baiyao, it stops bleeding and feels at ease. However, at this moment, Carlo bowed his head beside her ear, a bit of playfulness suddenly appeared on his face, and he said softly, also, are you just so impatient? Quote. Question mark quote. The sudden sharp turn made the Empress, who had just been immersed in deep emotion, suddenly feel dazed. On the face of the pair blossom with rain, the expression instantly fell into a sluggish. No, this routine is wrong, shouldn't it be time to move? Why does it still have a sudden break? Obviously, the Empress has not yet reacted, what happened? But at this moment, the temperature of the palm from the shoulders woke her up instantly, and she suddenly reacted to some questions, and the whole person was stunned in an instant. What did she just do? When I rushed over just now, it seemed, I turned around so, frankly. Quote. Quote. The Empress only felt a buzzing in her head, she completely lost any ability to think, and fell into a panic for a while. A pretty face was blushing, and even a few strands of white hair could be seen escaping from the top of his head. It's like boiling a pot. And what Carlo said was still lingering in her ears at this time. Can't wait. How is that possible? How could she be such a horrible person? The conscience of heaven and earth, although her Empress is crazy, but she really is not like this, she is completely grateful. No, Mr. Carlo, please don't get me wrong, the concubine is not that kind of person. Afraid that her image would be stained in Carlo's heart, and the other party would misunderstand that she was a casual person, the Empress hurriedly raised her head, stretched out her hand and pushed it, and she was about to run away. But at this time, she realized that she couldn't move at all. Quote. Mr. Carlo. The Queen, who was still in heat, raised her head, only to find that Carlo's face was full of laughing. What? Where else do you want to go? Hancock. Carlo looked joking and looked at the beautiful woman in front of him with a smile. It seemed that this guy did such a thing just to liven up the atmosphere. It was quite useful, forcing the Empress out of her heavy emotions, the pain and fear in her heart dissipated for unknown reasons. Quote. Mr. Carlo's painstaking efforts, the concubine understands. The concubine doesn't go anywhere, but, can you let go of the concubine first? Concubine wrong will go first, just sort it out. The Queen said. At the moment, her situation does not seem to be suitable for such face-to-face communication, and it is too embarrassing. Concubine body. Ah. She was about to continue speaking, but then, the handsome face in front of her suddenly enlarged rapidly, blocking all the words she hadn't had time to say. Boom. The Empress only felt that the thunder fell from the sky, and it was directly smashed into her mind. Her brain instantly became blank, and a pair of beautiful eyes quickly widened. Mr. Carlo, what is this doing? Could this be the legendary marriage proposal? Concubine. Mr. Carlo. God, how can it be so sudden? At this time, the female emperor's 5 senses were almost paralyzed, and her brain was a mess. How could she still cry like a pear flower with rain before? Although she was speechless, the word, marriage proposal, was added to her mind again, as if she had only known these 2 words in her mind. Tisk. That's really exaggerated. Single quote. Looking at the beautiful face close at hand, the expression changed rapidly. Carlo was speechless, obviously, he knew what she was thinking about. After a long time, seeing that the Empress was about to suffocate, Carlo released her, giving her a chance to breathe. Sniffing the fragrance that was constantly coming from the tip of his nose, Carlo smiled, feeling quite satisfied in his heart. There's no way. Who makes these lips too tempting? It's now this time, the foreplay has to start. Ka. Mr. Carlo. Let the concubine. The concubine take a break. Finally had the opportunity to speak, the Empress blushed with shame, and kept fiddling with her hands in front of her. While stammering, he hurriedly turned his head and tried his best to lean back, not daring to look at Carlo. Slowly. Hearing this, Carlo ignored it. The train was halfway through. You told me to get off the train. The foreplay has started, so why don't you tell me slowly? Shish, keep quiet. At this moment, Carlo stretched out the index finger of his left hand and touched the small mouth of the Empress. This made her a little unclear, but the next moment, she felt her body suddenly vacate. In the exclamation of the Empress, Carlo directly sprouted her, then raised his legs, and strode into the grove in front of him. You've taken the initiative to this point, it seems, it's my turn. In the grove, Carlo tore off his cloak directly and threw it on the ground, and then placed the still bewildered Empress on it. Looking at the rare natural look of the Empress in front of her, the corners of Carlo's mouth twitched more and more. Not long after, from this small forest, there were bursts of different sounds. It was detected that the host successfully healed the Queen's inner wound and completed a home run, which convinced the Queen with all her heart, and the mission conditions met the standard. Issue mission rewards. Advanced Observation Hockey Ishin Net. Ask the host to receive it. At about 4 in the morning, the sky had begun to light up slightly, and the night was gradually fading. At this moment, in Carlo's mind, the system's prompt sound suddenly sounded. Receive and use. Chapter 58. When the reward arrived, as expected, Carlo was not too pleasantly surprised. He lay lazily on his cloak, giving instructions to the system in his heart. Received. Observation Hockey is being awakened for the host, please be patient. Just like the previous awakening of armament hockey, the awakening of observation hockey will not cause the perception of others outside, and everything is carried out within the body. Therefore, even if the Empress was still by his side, Carlo didn't care and immediately began to wake up. Thinking about it, it will probably take no less time than emission from the initial awakening to the level of being able to use the hard net. Carlo simply ignored it and turned to look at the female emperor beside him. To be honest, don't look at the Empress always expressing her emotions so exaggeratedly. But for her, Carlo is always very satisfied, and not only because of her top figure and appearance. You must know that in the original pirate, she has always been a ruthless and domineering queen of a country. He also holds the identity of Shichibukai as a brutal. Where has he ever had his current posture and experience in his life? Even if there was a dark past, her life has always been clean from beginning to end. Where has she ever had such close contact with anyone? Otherwise, how could they be ignorant of these things, like a blank sheet of paper? After all, at the time of Mariajoy, she was quite young. Almost most of the time, they are locked in dark dungeons, or they are flogged and abused, and they are given to celestial dragons' brawls in public to satisfy their vanity. Even in recent days, I can't extricate myself from falling in love with Carlo in front of me, and I like YY when I have nothing to do, but at most, it's just YY going to two people to hold a wedding. For the Empress who couldn't even grasp the feeling of, like, at first, no matter how she looked on the surface, deep down she was still just a little girl. The most important thing is that once the female emperor is in love, it is 200% of the effort. Even to the point of, licking the dog. Where can I find such a perfect beauty, licking the dog? Don't pretend to be asleep. Why do you think I'm a fool, so easy to deceive? Patting the Empress who turned her back to him, Carlo wanted to laugh a little. Isn't this little girl very good at learning? Why is it so shy now? It's less than 10 minutes after class is over, and you want to take a break from get out of class. Yes, these two studied overnight. Quote. Mr. Carlo, it's too annoying, let the concubine be quiet first. Sure enough, the Empress was not really sleepy. At all, he was embarrassed to turn around to face Carlo, and still turned his back to Carlo. Yo, it's not you just now. I remember it clearly, you were very good at learning last night. Seeing the Empress who has always been aloof in this pose, Carlo was delighted, played with enthusiasm, and joked. However, before he could finish speaking, the Empress turned around, not caring about anything else, and hurriedly covered Carlo's mouth with her hand. I saw the Empress' face. The blush still hadn't dissipated. She covered her scenery with her clothes with one hand, and covered Carlo with the other, for fear that the words, desperate of conscience, would pop out of this guy's mouth. No way, the learning process last night was really too. I don't know what the reason is. In short, the Empress is a man who only cares about her Ishin, and she can't resist. Not only did he not resist, he even studied very seriously, and in the end he could even draw inferences from one case. As expected, she is a woman with an imperial appearance. This point, let alone the Empress did not think of it, even Carlo did not think of it. But after everything stopped, the Empress seemed to regain her sanity, her shame soared, and she no longer dared to look at Carlo, and this was the scene at hand. Too bad. Mr. Carlo. Since last night, the concubine has been yours, you can't abandon the concubine. Anyway, everything happened, and we have to face it sooner or later. This time, the Empress blushed. She simply chose to face her courageously. She leaned over directly, hugged Carlo's arm, and did not let go. What are you thinking about? How could it possibly abandon you? Hearing this, Carlo smiled and looked at her gesture. At the same time, there was a soft touch on his arm, which made his heart feel restless again. Should I say it or not, this thing, sports, is still the thrill of drilling into the woods. Back then, before Carlo crossed, he seemed to be blocking the school flowers in the woods. It's just that, before he could succeed, he was transmigrated by the system of heavenly slaughter. This made him obsessed and criticized for a long time, too special to pick the time. But now, Carlo doesn't feel that bad anymore. Although she is the school flower, she is nothing compared to the tall and devilish Empress in front of her. No matter from the appearance to the figure, the Empress has beaten the school flowers for hundreds of streets, and even has no qualifications to compare them together. But this time, before Carlo could act, the system beep sounded again. The awakening of sight, hearing and color is completed. Congratulations to the host, you have obtained the Advanced Observation Hockey Net. So fast. With the sound of this prompt falling, Carlo instantly felt that his spirit became clearer countless times, and his perception became clearer. Even without him taking the initiative to activate it, from a long distance, he could feel the crabs on the beach, moving non-stop in the sand, digging their own nests. Observation hockey. Strengthen the spirit, this is the most intuitive feeling brought to him. Would you like to try it first? Look at teach them, get back on the boat or not. Unable to hold back, Carlo instantly unleashed his sense of seeing and hearing. The terrifying scope of the hard network was fully displayed, and almost instantly, he included the entire island. Even, this range continues to expand at the speed of ultimate, as if there is no end. Of course, the larger the expansion, the greater the consumption of Carlo. Like other hockey, the degree of use is proportional to the consumption. So, Carlo's mind moved, and he hurriedly contracted, and controlled the scope of the hard network on this island, so that it would no longer continue to expand. It turns out that on the other side of the island, these guys are really energetic. Feeling the aura of Blackbeard and the others on the other side of the island, Carlo was speechless for a moment. He never thought that the gang had run so far. At the same time, the observation hockey of this network level also made his eyes shine. The coverage is too wide, and the whole island is easily covered, so practical. If this is applied to the ultimate, even Carlo himself does not know how vast an area can be seen. Since I haven't come back yet, it seems that I can give Hancock another lesson. Thinking of this, Carlo's face suddenly showed the unique smile of the old gentleman. The next moment, in the exclamation of the Empress, Carlo turned around, turned over again, and started a new course. About an hour later, when Carlo started observation hockey again, he found that the breath of Blackbeard and others was already heading towards the shore where they stopped the boat. So, he and the Empress also got up and packed up and hurried over there. Bah, bad luck, it's really a deserted island, you can't even see bird shit. On the coast, Blackbeard was sitting on the boarding steps, constantly cursing bad luck. After searching all night last night, let alone no clues, they didn't even find much of the materials such as animals, birds and fruits. It's a real desert island. With such a big jungle, it's a waste of time and energy for a night. Thief, ha ha ha, brother Carlo, you are back too. At this moment, Blackbeard spotted Carlo and the Empress who were walking from a distance, and laughed. Hearing this, everyone looked back, but the scene they saw made everyone stunned. The deputy captain, who was walking in their direction, was normal, but there was always a person, hanging, on his arm. That's right, it's the Empress. Along the way, the Empress has always held Carlo's arm, and this posture is like a fairy's companion. People who are not blind can see their relationship at a glance. No one expected that their vice captain and the icy hockey's 9-snake empress would have come this far after not seeing each other in just one night. Before, they knew that the empress was joining the ship for who they were, and they could clearly feel the strange affection she had for their vice captain. After all, the empress is too obvious, she is always behind Carlo's ass. Everyone on the boat is already used to it, but I didn't expect it to be so fast. Seeing the two approaching, the eyes of everyone on the boat were somewhat ambiguous, but no one dared to ridicule their deputy captain, and they tried their best to hide their expressions. What are you kidding? Dare to make fun of the vice captain? That's just boring and crooked. Give them an extra training package in minutes. As for the female warriors of the 9 snakes, they were completely different. They were all shocked and stunned to see this scene. It is unbelievable that their queen is so close to people. It was abnormal before, but there was almost no such close contact. But now, what's going on? Katakana middle dot katakana middle dot katakana middle dot flowers. You know, in front of the empress, even kittens and puppies who accidentally get in the way have to be kicked in place, not to mention who would dare to touch her. However, it is normal for these straight girls from Daughter's Island to not understand. After all, they are the ones who are behind, and their queen has completely completed the sublimation. Teach, judging from your appearance, you shouldn't have found anything, right? Walking closer, Carlo asked knowingly. As for everyone's strange eyes, neither he nor the empress did not care. The attitude of the empress was so obvious that it couldn't be more obvious. In the eyes that swept towards the crowd, she was full of indifference and a naturally high attitude. And when his eyes returned to Carlo, he immediately changed back to his almost obsessed appearance. For her, on this ship, she only cares about Carlo's thoughts, other people's thoughts, none of her business. Who dares to say more BB, and directly teach petrochemical life? As for Carlo, it doesn't matter, I will announce it to you directly. This is your sister-in-law, the wife of the deputy captain. It is only natural to treat her like an old man. No, this place is a waste of my time. Hearing Carlo's question, Blackbeard's expression was as if he had eaten a fly, and he was quite upset. Not only him, but also the other crew members and the female warriors of 9 snakes, also felt the same way. There isn't even a place to hunt and have fun here, it's empty. Relax a bit of loneliness, it's better to stay on the boat. Looking at the unhappy expressions of everyone, Carlo expressed that he wanted to laugh. I am afraid that he is the only one who has experienced the most full of this landing. Okay. Since there are no clues, let's go, don't waste time. Seeing that all the members had returned, Carlo had no ink, so he made a direct announcement, and then took the Empress and Blackbeard to board the ship. Not long after, the Blackbeard pirates set sail again, heading for the next destination. 2 days later, they landed on another island, which was still not Drum Island, but a populated island. However, as before, no clues were found, and fruit breath and ability people did not exist here at all. So, after a short stay for less than an hour, they simply resupplied, and then they set off again. It was mainly because Blackbeard didn't have any thoughts after that night of useless work, so he continued to delay time. Turn the experience to ultimate, stroll around the island, and if you can't find it, leave immediately, without taking a step. In this way, Carlo accompanied Blackbeard and continued to perform this play. It was not until 5 days later that they finally reached the last island in this sea area. This is a white island, covered with snow and ice all the year round, and the last small island that they arrived at 2 days ago, which is like spring all year round, seems to be 2 extremes. On the Grand Line, this extreme weather, all over the place, in 2 places that may be less than a day's journey apart, is completely 2 climates. And here is the snow country, at the forefront of the Grand Line, the Drum Kingdom. The last place, if this place doesn't exist, the thief haha, the clues of Lao Tzu will be completely cut off. The big ship was slowly docked on the shore, and Blackbeard stood by the side of the ship. He didn't seem to feel the cold here at all, and there was even a cold sweat on his forehead. It can be seen how nervous he is at this time. No way, as he said, if this place is still empty, then Munch Munch fruit, I am afraid it will really be out of play. After all, Blackbeard, after researching and inquiring for so long, has only mastered this information. No, this time, I'm afraid there is a real drama. But at this moment, beside Blackbeard, there was a certain voice. What? How did you know that, man? Don't look back. That familiar voice, not his mate, who is it? Blackbeard might not care if someone else spoke, but Carlo's simple words made his worries disappear in an instant, and his heart gradually began to get excited. Who made him the mate, always the most reliable? This seems to have become the subconscious of all the people of the Blackbeard pirates. If you don't believe it, you can't help but believe the words of this deputy captain. Because, I sensed it. There is more than one demon fruit power on this island. Chapter 59. Induction. The popularity here is indeed more than that of the previous islands. However, where does the aura of the capable people come from? I found that all of them seemed to be those civilians. Hearing this, Blackbeard frowned, and at the same time, he worked hard in the dark, trying his best to expand the sensing range of seeing and hearing to the maximum. But, I just noticed some ordinary people, or living creatures hidden in the jungle and snow. As for the special breath of demon fruit power, I didn't even feel it. There, on the top of the mountain in the middle, there is the breath of at least two capable beings. At this time, Carlo stretched out his hand and pointed to the distant, cylindrical giant mountains that lie across the country. Don't make fun of me, man, thief, haha. How can I feel it at such a long distance? Looking at the direction pointed by Carlo, Blackbeard froze for a moment, then opened his mouth wide and laughed, but the smile was a little embarrassing no matter how you look at it. Because he knew that Carlo couldn't lie to him, but at such a long distance, he could sense it. That's too nonsense. They have not landed on the island yet. And those huge mountain peaks are at the end of this island, and I don't know how far apart. You must know that the area of Magnetic Drum Island is quite large, much larger than the other islands they have searched all the way to land on. No matter what, it is a large island that can form a country. Previously, Blackbeard's observation haki, which was claimed to cover most of the island, was just a nice thing to say, and it only covered the pirate paradise of Saraka Island, which was so small that it couldn't be smaller. The area of that place is not necessarily the same as that of the hundreds of small islands in Sabayati archipelago. One place is large in size. Compared with the magnetic drum island in front of him, it is less than 1/10 of 523. So it can cover most of the area there, but it doesn't mean anything. Right now, their position, the distance from the giant mountain, and the presence of that old man from Whitebeard, can't be sensed by observation haki. Although he hated this stinky old man, Blackbeard still recognized his strength. When he was young, he was called the strongest man in the world, but he was not just talking about it. The master of fruit development and conqueror's haki has reached the peak. But even this observation haki, which has reached the ultimate, cannot cover such a wide range, and the distance is too far. It has completely exceeded the sensing range of observation haki. No matter how strong the practice of seeing and hearing, it is impossible to make fun of you. Do you think I'm in that mood? Teach. Hearing this, Carlo glanced at him, but he didn't give a damn, and said lightly, during the past few days of practice, I have mastered special knowledge, hard net. What? A special sight. Hiss. Hearing Carlo's words, without waiting for Blackbeard to react, Van Oka, who was standing behind the two, changed his usual taciturn and indifferent appearance, and immediately changed his color and took a deep breath. I didn't expect. The deputy captain is so young. He has become the master of high-level observation haki, and he even understands the special sight. It's incredible. Van Oka looked shocked. His eyes were full of enthusiasm, and he was staring at Carlo's back. I do know about seeing and hearing, but what the hell is this special seeing and hearing? At this moment, Burgess heard the movement and came over and asked Van Oka. And several other people couldn't help but cast doubtful eyes. Obviously, almost none of them have heard of this name. Quote. As the name suggests, it is the area of comprehension that you can try to explore and comprehend only after you have cultivated to an advanced level. 5. And the special seeing, hearing and coloring is based on this haki, strengthening a specific direction. Quote. For example, the induction beyond the limit of seeing and hearing, I think the so-called hardnet of the deputy captain belongs to this category, right? However, it is very difficult to cultivate to the advanced level, and there are very few people who can comprehend the special observation hockey in the ocean. This has always been the ability I have been pursuing all my life. Unfortunately, my talent is too weak, and I haven't awakened to such an ability yet. I didn't expect the deputy captain to have. 5. Van Oka said he was sour and turned into lemon essence in situ. He is several years older than Carlo, but in his area of expertise, he can't compare to others. It's really maddening. You must know that the most urgent need for knowledge and sex is these gunmen and snipers. Just like the needs of those who practice body arts and kendo for armament hockey, seeing and hearing is the lifeblood of gunmen. And the special sight is the dream of all gunmen and snipers. No matter which limit field you have broken through, it is quite useful. Just like the foreseeable future of Katakuri in the original Pirates, Usopp's ultra-distance perception plus functional perspective all belong to the ranks of special knowledge, but the direction of specialization is different. As for the network of hearts that Carlo has, it is the limit of seeing and hearing in the limit of super-distance perception, the kind that directly fills up the skill points. How can this not make Van Oka jealous and hateful? Although I don't know the specific functions of Xinhuang, but there is nothing wrong with the special experience, it is the ultimate evolution of the experience that breaks through to all directions. So that's the case, Mr. Vice Captain, isn't he also a sniper? Hey, not only all the masters of Conqueror's hockey, but also the Grandmaster has reached such a level, I really want to know if his armament hockey is so strong. I'm really looking forward to it. After hearing Van Oka's explanation, everyone instantly became excited, as if they also possessed such an ability. I'm even more interested in Carlo's armament hockey, which has never been used. There will be a chance for you to see it. Carlo only responded slightly to the wave of flattery coming from behind him, and then joked to Blackbeard, who was a little confused beside him, "Teach, what are you still doing?" "I'm ready to go. I'm not sure, among those two capable people, there is Munch Munch fruit. If you don't plan to ask for it, then it's not impossible for me to reluctantly eat it." Quote. Yes, of course, thief ha ha ha. Carlo's words made Blackbeard instantly come to his senses, and he immediately laughed and said, "I've heard of the special sight, but I didn't expect you to master this kind of thing. This time, it's Lao Tzu's fault that I doubt your ability, bro, you should be punished. Ha ha ha, thief, come back, when you come back, I will punish myself and apologize to you, brother. Let's go, brothers, this time I must get that ability." Self-reflection, deep self-reflection. Blackbeard said that this was the last time, and he would never question what his deputy said again. His face was slapped, and it really hurt. Of course, this also means that this place, as Carlo said, has at least two capable people, Munch Munch fruit, and it is very likely to be here. This also made Blackbeard's mood rise instantly. He couldn't wait, and before the ship had completely docked, he slumped over and flied over. The proper meat, egg, onion chicken is the visual sense. However, in a snowy jungle not far from the shore, there were a few people in white military padded jackets hiding here sneakily. Watching the big ship of the Blackbeard pirates dock, they immediately took out the phone bug and dialed. These people in military uniforms hiding in secret surveillance ports, don't think, they must be soldiers of this country. And the calls they made were naturally also tipping off the royal family. No matter what, the pirate flag on this big ship is too dazzling, and the pirates will definitely be fortified when they land. How can you hide this little action from Carlo, who has already opened up his heart and network? It's just that he didn't pull them out, there's no need. Just let the stupid ex of Wapol know, what can I do? With Carlo here this time, do you still want to sneak? You want to eat shit. He really thinks that his heart network is in vain. You must know that he has not expanded the scope to the maximum, and has already covered the entire Drum Island. This time, it really wasn't that Carlo deliberately concealed it, causing the Blackbeard pirates to do a lot of useless work for so many days, and run off so many islands in vain. Although the coverage area of the heart network is large, it is impossible to cover this large sea area. If he had told Blackbeard before that the ultimate destination was here, wouldn't that be an act of self-disclosure and only aroused suspicion, so he could only accompany them all the way to act? Of course, what's more important is the ratio, of course, at the most critical time. I just love to see what these guys have never seen before. Lu, sir. Wait, concubine. Just as the group of people had disembarked and walked a certain distance towards the giant mountain behind the Drum Kingdom, an exaggerated shout came from behind. Looking back, I found out that it was the Empress, who had just disembarked at this time, chasing in their direction. In the past, the Empress had been staying in the cabin all the time. She originally thought that the weather here was so bad that she didn't plan to travel with her. On this boat, the Empress could do whatever she wanted, no one dared to control it, so everyone took the first step and left. But I didn't expect that at this time, the Empress suddenly appeared and chased after him again. Oh, woman, it's just a little troublesome, you go first, I'll follow in a while. Carlo raised his forehead, and after explaining to a few people, he stopped and waited for the Empress behind him. Well, we all know. Hearing this, everyone had an expression of, I understand, and they were quite knowledgeable, and set foot on the road to the back mountain first. After everyone left a distance, the Empress behind finally caught up. At this time, she seems to have changed her outfit. The white cloak behind her has also changed into a thick and fluffy spotted cloak, and the cheongsam is the same, replaced by a more conservative one. In the original pirate, she was dressed in impel down. Although it is not as exposed as it looks before, it has a different taste. It's no wonder that this little girl took so long to get off the boat, and her emotions are all stained on her dress. Mr. Carlo, why are you looking at your concubine like that? Walking closer, looking at Carlo's undisguised eager eyes, a faint blush appeared on the Empress' face. At the same time, he also habitually took his arm again. Why, it's not allowed to be a husband, so let's see more of my daughter-in-law. Carlo raised his eyebrows and laughed while walking forward. For husband, young married woman, Mr. Carlo, I confessed to my concubine again. Hearing this, the Empress was shocked, and suddenly she fell into her own spiritual world again, unable to extricate herself. Looking at the posture of the Empress beside him, Carlo also sighed for no reason. Oh, it's really boring to walk with those big men. It's still fun to tease my daughter-in-law. Obviously, this guy's speechlessness before was pretending, and he wanted to walk alone in the snow with the Empress. Carlo said, if it weren't for the tight schedule and heavy tasks, and a battle in the snow, it would be quite impressive. Especially after seeing the new fashion unlocked by the Empress, a new world was opened up in Carlo's mind. It seems that it is right to buy more clothes for women. For example, all kinds of cheongsams, school uniforms of a certain island country, and uniforms, etc. Of course, a cooler permanent dress is also a pretty good choice. With the female emperor's devilish figure and top-notch appearance, no matter what she wears, it is a dazzling landscape. When we exchange feelings together in the future, can't we go to heaven? Wonderful. At this time, the queen is in YY, and Carlo is also imagining infinitely in his own spiritual world. The two are really a perfect match. Of course, with Carlo's temperament, it's not as simple as just thinking about it. He has even decided that when the trip is over, he must take action and help the Empress collect all kinds of strange clothes. Unlock a new life experience. For my husband, for my father. What is your husband? It's the sweetest to call your father. Hancock, come on, call daddy. Dare to think, dare to do it. Suddenly thinking of this, Carlo immediately blurted out and said to the Empress beside him. Dad, what a strange name that is, Mr. Carlo, how can it be like this? Obviously, the Empress had difficulty understanding the cultural input from the 21st century, her cheeks bulged in an instant, and she was so puffed up. It's okay, being a father will make you get used to it slowly. Seeing this, Carlo laughed. Then, ignoring the Empress, pretend to resist, Carlo directly stretched his hand into the cloak behind her. The journey is boring, but you can deliberately create some small surprises for yourself. Such a life is so colorful. For these, Carlo has always been good at. In this way, the two of them followed 500 or 600 meters behind the main force, and walked towards the giant mountain in the distance without any rush. This is too high, and there is no way to climb the mountain. What idiot would build the palace on this? Lafitte, you fly up first and scout for Lao Su. After walking for a long time, the group finally came to the foot of the mountain of the Magnetic Drum Palace. It's just that there is almost no way for people to climb this huge mountain, and there are very few protruding and smooth batches around this mountain. Yes, Captain. After receiving Blackbeard's order, Lafayette immediately prepared to transform into a dove form, but at this moment, a word from behind stopped him. No need to go up. Go directly to the back of the mountain. One of the capable people above has come down and is running away in the direction of the back of the mountain. Carlo and the Empress, here we come. The reminder just now came from Carlo's mouth. With Lao Su's network of hearts, is it that your perceptions and colors fail? Did no one notice it? Hurry up and chase. At a later time, let the capable person run away. Chapter 60. Carlo, who had just appeared, was looking at Blackbeard with a speechless expression, and some people complained, and his words were not polite at all. He and the Empress, who were originally behind the large army, arrived at the foot of the mountain a few minutes later than everyone else. But his heart was covered all the time. As early as 10 minutes ago, he sensed that Wapol had fled from the mountain. But the group of people in front of them are still struggling with how to go up the mountain. I can't carry it. I can't carry it, Carlo said. The teammates are too pitiful, they can't carry it. If he came a little late, this time the cliff would make Wapol slip away again, and the speed of his running was quite fast. Now he knows how the Blackbeard pirates, among the original pirates, made that idiot Wapol escape. This is not to underestimate the enemy, this is completely left out of the mind. Ah, is that so? Hearing this, Blackbeard was startled and hurriedly unfolded his observation hockey. Even at such a close distance, he could still sense it. Sure enough, as soon as he started seeing and hearing, he sensed the aura of a capable person, and he was already approaching the edge of the island behind the mountain. He is almost out of his sense of seeing and hearing. FK, hurry up. This time, Blackbeard couldn't calm down at all, and hurriedly ran away, chasing in that direction. The breath of another capable person is still on the mountain, so don't worry. But right now, it is absolutely impossible to let this run away. Who knows what Munch Munch fruit's ability is, and if it runs away, Blackbeard's intestines will be regretted. After about 10 minutes, under the rapid pursuit of the Blackbeard pirates, finally, on the shore of the back mountain island, they blocked Wapol and others who were about to escape by boat. Poison Q. You bastard, what are you going to do when you come to this king's country? Quick, quick, stop them for this king. 25. Seeing that Blackbeard led a large group of pirates to arrive, Wapol looked at the poisonous Q behind Blackbeard with a dumbfounded expression, and immediately panicked. Immediately afterwards, he hurriedly ordered the two admiral under his command. As for himself, he was about to run to the boat in a blink of an eye. Feelings, this guy didn't resist at all, he didn't even see his face, he would leave his king's name and run wild, not because of Blackbeard. But think about it, Blackbeard has always been in New World, and his reputation is not obvious. With Wapol's level, how could he possibly know him? What made him feel so terrified was the notorious witch doctor who had a bounty of more than 70 million in the first half of the Grand Line. After all, the Drum Kingdom, but the country with the most and the most sophisticated doctors, naturally pays more attention to the poisonous Q of Pier. After hearing the report from his subordinates that a group of pirates who looked like they had landed on the ground, and that there was a poisonous Q among them, Wapol didn't even have the mind to resist, and immediately chose to run away. Yes, Your Majesty the King. After hearing Wapol's order, one of the admiral, who was under the boat, Jace, immediately hoisted his bow and set up 3 flaming arrows. Aim in the direction of a group of people like Blackbeard and shoot. At the same time, Daisy, who was behind the Empress, also immediately bent a bow and shot an arrow in the distance. Boom! I saw that the 3 arrows of Jace, in midair, were smashed into pieces by the arrows shot by Daisy. Then, the power of this arrow did not diminish, and it shot straight at Jace, and exploded instantly. By the time the smoke dissipated, Jace had rolled his eyes and was killed by an arrow. There is no need for Van Oka, who is also a sniper, to shoot. Daisy simply sends him away with 1 arrow. The difference in strength is too great. It is not an exaggeration to say that it is the difference between a man and a baby. This is, what ability? How can it still explode? Seeing that his partner lost his life, and the other, Admiral, beside him, Chroma Limon was stunned, and the glove in his hand fell directly to the ground. And Wapol, who had just boarded the ship at the back, was also frightened when he saw this scene. While urging the ship to start, he also quickly swallowed the various facilities on the ship. Want to grow as much as possible, just in case. Bumper, still capable. I haven't even heard of armament hockey, it's too weak. Thief, ha 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 ha, it's really Munch Munch fruit ability, great, great. Brother Carlo, thanks to you, I really found it, thief, ha 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 ha. After making a mocking sentence, Blackbeard immediately noticed Wapol's movements behind him, and when he saw how he devoured all kinds of things, he immediately determined that it was the ability of Munch Munch fruit. Dark water, strong suction. Finally seeing Munch Munch fruit, how could Blackbeard hold back? Immediately, he shot himself, aiming directly at the Wapol on the ship in the distance, which was still swallowing everywhere, and used the dark water. Quote. What is this? Why can't this king control himself? The difference in strength between the two is outrageous, and dark fruit has the effect of restraining all abilities. Completely unable to move, unable to resist, Wapol, who had just eaten up several times his size, was sucked by Blackbeard in an instant. When he touched Blackbeard's palm, Wapol's figure immediately returned to its original shape. Fruit ability, invalid. You bastard, holding such a strong devil fruit, how could you use it like this? Too wasteful. Let me die. Munch Munch fruit, it belongs to me, thief, ha ha ha. Wapol's usage of Munch Munch fruit obviously makes Blackbeard quite contempt, it's just such a waste of money. Under the effect of the enhanced version of dark water, the weak Wapol was directly sucked into a human body. In just a few seconds, he completely lost consciousness and was on the verge of death. No second hand from Blackbeard. Don't get carried away. Teach, if I don't remind you, you'll let this bastard run away. You who let the waste run away, aren't you, even more waste? Heartbroken. It's so frustrating. You don't need to look back. You know who said those words, who dared to talk to him like Blackbeard on the boat. Besides his dear second-in-command Carlo, is there another person? It was just such a light sarcasm that made Blackbeard's smug laughter come to an abrupt end, and he fell into embarrassment. Damn dude, don't take such a blow. Hey, forget about it, I'll pay attention later. Dude, look, Munch Munch fruit, it's really coming this time. Thief, ha ha ha. In front of Carlo, Blackbeard didn't dare to put on the air of his captain. In addition to being excited, he quickly changed the subject and threw the dead dog Wapol under his feet. Don't talk useless, teach, eat it as soon as you get it. I am also looking forward to the power of this fruit. In the Drum Kingdom, on the last hidden coast, only the Blackbeard pirates were left. Under the indiscriminate attack of Blackbeard just now, the other weak chickens, including Chromariman, all died. Now, no one bothers Blackbeard to absorb this second ability. Carlo said that if he doesn't accept it now, when will it be? Yep. Thief, ha ha ha. Munch Munch fruit, you belong to Lao Su. Hearing Carlo's urging, Blackbeard, who couldn't wait, took out a purple fruit from the coat pocket behind him. It is said that it is a fruit, but it is not like it, but it is a bit like a piranha. Because in the middle of this fruit, there is a vertical tooth-like closed pattern, which is very similar to the closed mouth of the piranha. This fruit was prepared by Blackbeard long ago on the road. Its shape, color and characteristics are highly identical to the Munch Munch fruit he had seen in the Devil Fruit illustrated book. For this trip to find Munch Munch fruit, Blackbeard was well prepared. After all, to deprive the fruit ability, it must need a carrier. Otherwise, even if the ability is stripped from the ability person, if there is no carrier, then this ability will also disappear, and it will be randomly reborn somewhere on the sea. Later, after being reminded by Carlo, Blackbeard tried his best to find fruits similar in shape to Munch Munch fruit for the sake of insurance. Blackbeard is also the first time to use a move that deprives others of their ability, so it's always right to be careful. It's time to start. This time, he was surrounded by his own people, so Blackbeard didn't need to do anything more than he did when he deprived Shock Fruit in the original Pirates, covered with a black cloth. It's all my own family, there's nothing to see. I saw him stretch out his right hand, and in an instant, thick black smoke spread all over Blackbeard's right arm. Fanoka and other capable people who were present couldn't help feeling frightened and took a few steps back. No way, this is restraint from the blood. On Blackbeard's right arm, the power of deprivation has been attached, and those who are able to stand around him can only be a ghost if they are comfortable. Even if she was as strong as an empress, she couldn't help frowning and moved behind Carlo again. The next moment, I saw that Blackbeard's right hand, which was smoking black, passed through Wapol's body with ease. There were no wounds, and even the clothes were not damaged. It was so easy to break in, and the thick black smoke was continuously injected into Wapol's body. In this way, after about a minute or so, Carlo could clearly notice that the aura of the capable person on Wapol was gradually weakening. Seeing this, Blackbeard sneered, put the prepared fruit directly on Wapol, and then increased the output of dark energy. Looks like it's over. Time, and less than 2 minutes later, Carlo realized that Wapol had completely cut off his vitality. And the ability in his body is also without the slightest breath. At this moment, I saw the fruit on Wapol's body. The appearance of the fruit did not change, but on the fruit, there suddenly appeared wisps of circles. Successful, thief, ha ha ha. Seeing this scene, Blackbeard was overjoyed, and instantly withdrew his secret power, then picked up the fruit and laughed madly. Obviously, that circle of lines is one of Devil Fruit's manifestations. The deprivation ability of this dark fruit is really convenient. It has an almost 100% success rate, and it's accurate to peel it. Looking at the Munch Munch fruit in Blackbeard's hands, Carlo couldn't help but sigh. And behind it, the crew members were also stunned. Although he already knew about Blackbeard's abilities, he saw this scene with his own eyes, and he couldn't help feeling shocked in his heart. Dark fruit, Tionk those capable people. Perhaps, only the vice captain who hasn't eaten the fruit yet, who has reached the pinnacle of conqueror's hockey and physique, can restrain the captain. Gam. The taste of this devil fruit is still unpalatable as always, bah, it's too unpalatable. At this time, Blackbeard had already put the Munch Munch fruit into his mouth, but his face immediately collapsed. The taste of devil fruit, no one dares to compliment it, is n times more unpalatable than baba. Obviously, this is the second time Blackbeard has enjoyed. One bite, only one bite, foolishly will take the second bite. After taking the first bite, Blackbeard was full of disgust, and threw most of the remaining fruit on the beach in the distance. After that, everyone quietly waited for the fruit ability to appear. Come, feel it. Less than a minute later, Blackbeard suddenly shouted, startling everyone around him. I didn't know, I thought it was going to be born. It's better to swallow something. Sigh, it would be great if this thing had a description of the moves, it would be very laborious to develop. I don't want to be like that waste, swallowing whatever you catch, tiny. It's a waste. Blackbeard has clearly felt another power in his body, which is the ability from Munch Munch fruit. Got it, really got it, without any accident. But it's useless just to get the ability, you have to develop it, it's useless if you don't develop it. It stands to reason that the development direction of Munch Munch fruit is relatively simple. Just swallow something and turn it into your own power, no need for other bells and whistles. But, right now, there is nothing that he can swallow, except for the white snow all over the place. There are only a few dead trees left, and the boats that are docked on the shore and have been eaten by Wapol. Could it be that, like that trash, eating a few boats and having fun? No, Blackbeard said he couldn't do this stupid thing. If you want to eat, you can't eat what's left over from others. Listening to Blackbeard's constant self-talk, Carlo at this time has black lines all over his forehead. Is this product broken in the brain? It also explains the moves. Do you want to give you an instruction manual? Is this still the smart, deceitful Blackbeard? Teach, it looks like you've lost your head with excitement. If you want to try the trick, isn't rain burial a good swallowing material? What are you still looking for? Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.